in 95, like we were all doing interesting shit. Like we were out of high school, kind of like that era.
Well, we were driving around a lot, listening to a lot of
We were
songs,
driving a lot.
Eating Wendy's.
Yeah, I guess interesting may not be the word.
Interesting.
It was just challenging times for us as we try to figure out
how
what
about
the hell we're going to
pathetic?
do.
Like, how about pathetic?
There we go.
Recorded live from Studio 12A in sunny Phoenix, Arizona. You're listening to the Josh and Friends podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Josh and Friends podcast. I am your host. My name is Josh. And this week, we are here to discuss the 90s. The year was 1995. And the top comedies at the box office include Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, Clueless, Tommy Boy, Friday, and Billy Madison. The top-rated shows on television include ER, Seinfeld and Friends, and O.J. Simpson was found not guilty of murder in the trial of the century. But we are here to talk about the year in rock. And joining me in today's discussion are Ethan and Lee, and we'll be selecting our top 5 favorite rock albums from 1995, as well as our thoughts on the bands, the music, and the industry at the time. So let's get right into this and help me welcome back to the show. They're two of my old pals from the 1990s, Mr. Ethan McDonald and Lee Olson. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. How are you?
Woo!
I was like Ric Flair, Lee. I liked it.
I know, dude. We just watched the Iron Claw. Have you seen that? Super
No,
depressing.
We
just watched it. It's super depressing, but it's about wrestling. It has Ric Flair in it. So anyway, there you go.
Nice.
That's why that was that.
Well,
Good catch.
Lee, can you believe it's been 30 years since this music came out?
Actually, I can. I feel 30 years older.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Ethan, are you ready to go down memory lane here?
Definitely. Absolutely.
You said that you have you guys have a lot of things to say about these albums, and it's a big year for albums for this year.
It was indeed.
This is going to be a weird one. Lots to talk about.
Lots of nostalgia for us, right? Because this is like right in our wheelhouse.
Absolutely. And not only the nostalgia, just as you go through the list, it's really like just the diversity of music back then. How many more between you got like the rise of kind of like the singer-songwriter ladies like Jewel and to all these like, I mean, ska is kind of in the mainstream weirdly to
just
grunge, post-grunge to there's still metal. It's just like when you look at it, I just don't feel like there's that kind of diversity of music in popular music today. If you looked at like what was on the Spotify Top 100 or something like that, you'd be like, this is it seems more streamlined. And maybe I'm way off, but
I totally agree. But if we're being honest, even if it was 2 years earlier in like 93, it wasn't diverse then. It's like it became diverse in like 95.
Okay.
Like it opened up. That's my perception anyway.
I had a tough time with this list, guys. I kept moving stuff back and like up and in my,
literally just switched it 30 minutes waiting for you, Josh. Just switched it again. So yeah, I feel you.
Mine's going to just move around. I don't know how it's going to end.
All right. So we're going to get right into this, guys. And because this is, there's a lot to talk about here. So today we are doing the top rock albums of 1995. And this is the year that this is the year after we graduated high school. Isn't this when you start coaching, Ethan?
Yeah. Started coaching back at old Auburn High with old Bobby Jones.
Bobby Jones.
I don't think I quite had registered yet at Highline Community College, but maybe. I'm sure you were up at Green River.
Oh, yeah.
With Leroy.
Yeah, both of us were. Yeah.
Yep.
One of us attending more than the other.
So, yeah.
All right, guys. So as usual, what we're going to do is we're going to give our top four albums, and then we're going to do our honorable mentions, and then we're going to go to our number one.
Sounds like a plan.
Awesome.
So I'll be curious to see what you guys have for your number one album, and I just rearranged it before we started the show today. So we'll see.
I will say, I bet Josh has an idea of what both of ours number one is. It'll be interesting to see where things land because this year was nuts.
It is nuts. Well, it's so diverse too. Like, I was shocked what ended up being my number one. I don't know that I would have thought it was my number one. So
me too, honestly. Yeah.
All right, so let's get this going. So Ethan,
I always get to start.
We always start off with you, and let's just keep it rolling because
I love it, brother.
That's how we always do it here. So, Ethan, what do you have for your number 5?
Well, yeah, and guys, usually I always try to find like an album it's at least relatively complete, right? And the problem for me is there's a lot of bands that put out albums this year that I really love the band, but this wasn't necessarily a year where all of them had really complete albums. Like Anthrax had a great album, but it's not super complete. I know Clutch. Sorry, just to bring it up. We know Clutch had an album this year, but for me, it's not nearly as good as some of the other stuff that I really like for Clutch. I was really kind of struggling.
Hold on.
Hang on.
Okay.
I got one.
I have a question, but okay. Go ahead.
Okay, go for it. What's your question, Lee?
I think I might ruin it. I was going to say, does that imply that Clutch didn't make your top 5?
Clutch should not make my top 5.
Get the fuck out of here. Wow.
I'm just telling you. Because this was an album, though there's a few tracks on it I came to love.
Yeah.
It wasn't the album. It was my gateway drug into Clutch. Like I saw Clutch live then, but I wasn't into Clutch yet. And as far as albums I go back and listen to, it's just not as high up there as a lot of their other albums. So getting around to the point here, this was tough. Like honestly, I was just going to say, I can't come up with a 5. Like I've only got 4 because I just kept kicking off different albums. And eventually I landed on, and I kind of went back to the list again and go, shit, how did I miss this? And it's an album that, first off, for a debut band, for their debut album, for it to go triple platinum, pretty freaking incredible, even if it's the weirdest shit ever. Like if John Racich had his own band, it would be the Presidents of the United States of America. And John would have written the lyrics for this weird ass band. She totally confused all the passing piranhas. She's Seattle natives, obviously kind of grunge, but post-grunge. The fact that they have all these wild big tracks, obviously like Lump just kicks ass, even if what they're singing about is the weirdest thing I've ever heard. I don't know, some lady who's I don't know, guys slow in the head or something. I don't know. Peaches, Kitty, but then there's some good deep tracks on that too that are just kind of like somewhere between punk and pop and like I don't know. It's a weird ass album, but every time I listen to it, I always think like John Racich would love this because it's just so weird lyrically. It's got some really strange instrumental arrangement, but at the same time, just cool, kind of like for a 3-piece band, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's just 3 guys. Yeah, I don't know, man.
I remember listening to that with John Racich.
Oh, that totally makes sense, brother. So when I thought about it and like I kept listening to it again, I'm like, man, this is actually pretty good song for song. So it meets that criteria. It's pretty strong. Like, and I remember a ton of these tracks, even if I didn't always know them by name, because sometimes they're just someone put the CD on. And if I'm not mistaken, too, that album had like a crap ton of songs on it.
Yeah,
okay, it was just
it did because they were all like 2 minutes long.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like Dune Buggy's a good deep track on that. Strangers, yeah, but just some fun stuff. Plus a great cover of MC5's "Kick Out the Jams," which is just a badass song. Love that song. So
they did good covers over their
they did
tenure.
That album too. I mean, like it didn't make my number 5, but it almost did. Like 10 albums almost made my top 5, but that one was, dude. The way I always feel about that album was it was the antidote to the grunge. Like it was like people were getting sick of being sad and all the dirt and the dark, and then they came out from the same place that all the grunge was coming out. And they're singing about dune buggies and candy and shit. It's awesome. It's fucking awesome.
Singing about peaches, and then you have a video where ninjas come out of nowhere.
Right.
Like it was just like, what the hell's going on? I love this.
And they had a 3-piece band with 5 strings between the two stringed instruments.
That's wild.
How awesome! I don't know, super creative and awesome and poppy and amazing. It's cool.
Yeah.
So Lee, by the way, love it, Ethan.
Thank you,
Lee. What do you have, buddy? What's your number 5?
I mean, like Ethan, like I had a hard time picking the top 5, and I had to pick some criteria. The criteria sort of became what was I listening to the most in '95 because I couldn't pick the best albums because there are too many. There are too many really, really great albums. In this case, this one gets on to number 5 ahead of some other ones simply because of the cover art. It's Sugar Ray Lemonade and Brownie. 10 seconds down, which I was listening to a lot because I was driving around, and it's awesome. It has Mean Machine and some fast fucking music and
Definitely
whatever. But also
best album cover of the year.
It's one of the best album covers of all time.
Yeah.
Right. So I couldn't leave that one off because we're peak Nicole Eggert and fucking awesome driving music.
Peak testosterone.
Yeah, peak testosterone. Sadly,
18 or 19 years old or whatever the hell we were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
19, 18.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So that one had to make the top 5 for me because that album. I just wanted to see it on the podcast when this gets, put on the YouTube. I want to see that. That's why it needs to be up there. In fact, let's talk about this more so it's up there while we're talking about it.
Well,
everybody
Lee might pause when that comes up then for a while.
Mike?
I'm sorry.
Mike?
Oh, that's hilarious.
That's a little disturbing.
I love it. So, all right on. It's a great choice.
Matlock, what's yours, buddy?
All right, so when I think of 1995, this is piggybacking on what you guys said. Like, I think it's like a refresh in the music industry. It's like 1991 when grunge killed off, the hair bands, right? And 1995 was similar, that it had, kind of like outstayed its welcome, kind of. It's like there's still grunge albums coming out, but they're getting lesser and less like important. And, people are tired of being kind of all dark and depressed, and people want to have a good time. And a lot of these albums are pretty fun. They're upbeat. They're wildly different than the year before. And a lot of my selections are going to reflect that. So just to let you know. But that being said, my first album is a grunge album. My number 5 is Alice in Chains' self-titled album, or the Dog album, or the
Tripod Dog?
or yeah. I almost didn't put this in my top 5, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
It's depressing.
It's the worst of the Lane Staley era albums, in my opinion. But it still has great songs. It's still Alice in Chains, right?
Yeah.
It's still Alice in Chains. And there's some great songs on this, like Grind, Brush Away, Head Creeps. The song that reminds me of Driving with Ethan, again. And then the two best songs on the record, in my opinion, are the Jerry Cantrell songs, Over Now, and what was the other one?
Heaven Beside You.
Heaven Beside You. Yeah. So like, and it's funny because like, I'm like, those almost, I wonder if he recorded those like without Lane Staley. You know what I mean? Like,
I wonder how much
like his first solo album. And it's like, there's a lot of stuff going on in that period.
Depot, that was a good album.
So I don't know. But I remember the day that John Racage and I went down to the South Center Warehouse Music in Tukwila. And it was just a perfect memory for buying this album. It was all dark and gloomy. I don't know if it was raining, but it might have been raining. And
probably raining.
I think we both bought the album. I was like, I can't not buy this album. Because like it was very every Alice in Chains album, especially at this point, we're like, oh, we're buying this album. Like it's huge.
Do you remember too, Josh? It had the cool like purple and yellow plastic casing on the jewel casing with like and it was like, because then you pull out the sleeve and the picture of the dog was actually like black and white or something.
Yeah, it's like that.
But it didn't look so cool.
I have this one, and I bought this like years later, and it's like I'm like, what is this? Like,
yeah, because it was supposed to be that weird yellow and purple, and
so cool. there was the purple one, and then there was the green, like the lime green one.
Yeah, lime green yellowish.
Yeah,
mine was funny? Bit and bit. Mine was like one part was the cover was yellow,
mine was too.
Jewel was purple.
Yeah,
what was
the cover part? The hinge, the front door of it was the lime green yellow, and the back was the purple.
That's how mine was too. Although Ethan, I guarantee you and I probably got them at the exact same place.
Probably did.
Because we were at Weird Incredible Universe.
I bet you're probably true. Yeah, no wonder.
Because a bunch of my albums from this year, Lemonade and Brownies, I bought it. But yeah.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, so
that's
where we were.
Yeah, so that is my number 5 album. That is my number 5 album. So
that's
good for you, Josh.
Man, and Alice in Chains, I can't believe it. I'll let it out of the bag. I don't have an Alice in Chains album on. That album didn't make it on mine, which is shocking. It's fucking stunning that there were so many cool albums.
Yeah.
Alice in Chains didn't make it on my top 5.
I listened to these. I tried to be so fair, and I like went back and listened to these albums over and over and over, and I'm like, I have to have this on. I have to, but
right.
I could see. I almost didn't. I had it at number 7 at one point.
Wow.
So yeah. Anyway,
you got to in this like this year. I had to pick a direction to go with why I put them on there. And I landed at a super basic one, which one would have been in my truck, which one would have been in Zeke at the time. And they were all there, but like which one was most likely.
Because you around your Lemonade album. I always remember because remember I was driving with you guys a lot, right? Mm-hmm. And with Lee, he would just fucking take a CD and like throw the case down at the bottom, and I'd be like, oh, and I'd be like kicking it and stuff, and I'd like lift it up, and I'm like, oh, okay, we got Clutch here, we got lemonade and brownies, and we got whatever. But I definitely remember kicking around that album. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, that's how I chose. But that's the thing is, Alice in Chains, all of them, like they were all there. But holy shit, how do you pick these? So I love how each of us sort of approached it.
Yeah. So Ethan, what do you have at your number 4 spot?
My number 4 spot is an album that, once again, it's a band I ended up really liking, but it wasn't, when this first came out in 95, like I wish I had the criteria. That might have helped me if I had a criteria, like what did I listen to the most?
Dishwalla?
No, well, shit. They opened for Sheryl Crow when I saw her live. No, it's one of those things where I wish I would have had that direction because that would have made it easier. And to me, it's more like, what are the albums I still go back and listen to the most?
Yeah.
And that was the criteria I ended up choosing. And so, Presidents of the United States of America, that's something I go back and listen to a ton of, to be fair. But it's just with being a complete album and over other things, I went with that. So number 4 is an album that I definitely fell in love with the more I heard of it. And I think the thing that first really amazed me about it is I saw an interview with the gentleman on MTV where he basically said he was basically out of love with music because, of course, Kurt Cobain kills himself.
We have the same number 4. We have the same number 4.
Kurt kills himself. He decides he doesn't like music or he just can't do it anymore. It's just too much. And then when he finally starts to kind of rehab his love for music, he ends up recording these songs where he records all of it, the bass, the drums, the vocals, the guitar, and that I'm like, oh, that fascinates me. And to be honest, at that point, I knew of Nirvana. I kind of liked it, but I was way more of a Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, being kind of a metal guy. And so I was kind of interested because it didn't sound anything like Nirvana too. And I'm like, oh, this sounds a little weird. But I think it was that video for Big Me with the Mentos. Like the
great
videos. Great videos. And just, he had such a good sense of humor. And it seemed like, I'm just like, all the reasons why people love Dave now, despite his extramarital affairs. But needless to say, nothing against that.
What's more rock and roll than that?
Sure. But it's just tough too. Cause when you had the one good guy for rock and roll and then he kind of takes that hit, it's a bummer. But back to the point here, this album was just like, the more I went back and listened to it, like it's just a good, complete album too, considering it's one guy writing it and then recording all of it. Pretty impressive. So obviously killer tracks like This Is a Call, I'll Stick Around, Big Me, Alone and an Easy Target. But there's some of my favorite songs are actually some of the deeper tracks and cuts. Weenie Beanie, for some reason, I don't know why, but I really like that song because it just comes out super fast and kind of
sounds like a song John would like.
Oh, totally.
Weenie Beanie.
Well, I think of John again too. When you have a song like For All the Cows, like who else would come up with this crap? I mean, but Watershed too, or Watershed, exactly how you said. But it's just like there's some good stuff on that, and I just once again it kind of made me fall in love with Dave Grohl and just his approach to music. And obviously the next album was huge. I remember listening. I think you and I, Josh, were at The Color and the Shape was on at the Blockbuster Music up there in Federal Way, and we had driven up and we're like sampling. I was just scanning. We go there and listen, and of course buy them somewhere else because who could afford to like refinance your car just so you could afford a CD up there? But I just have some good memories tied around the Foo Fighters and listening with you guys around that time period. But this album, I definitely probably listened to it later. I don't know that I listened to it in 1995 a whole lot, to be fair, other than what I heard on MTV. But it's one of those albums and a band I still go back to and listen to most of all. So that's why it's my number 4.
And Lee, you said that this is also your number 4.
It is my number 4, but actually, as he's describing it, I realized this was my deviation from my sort of parameters, that it would have been something that was in my car, because I didn't actually listen to this a lot in '94. This is absolutely one that I look back on.
And 94.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, 95.
Yeah,
95. But like, for me, this one had to make it because of just the enormity of what Dave Grohl did and what Dave Grohl became for rock and roll. So this one actually deviated from my sort of ethos of how I picked these things. It was exactly that. He was completely depressed. He didn't want to do any music. He was totally burnt out and pissed off at the world. And then he walked down the street to the studio with some music that he had sort of jotted down during tours of Nirvana and played every single fucking instrument on it and created this amazing thing.
So, I have a question. Has there ever been, in the history of music, a member of a band who is not the primary songwriter or the singer on anything within the band that went on to become this big? I don't think there is. This is a crazy moment, because like
and we're talking about in the same fucking year. Like, Kurt killed himself in April.
Yeah,
he was recording this in like October.
Yeah.
This is unprecedented, but also just unfucking believable that this dude, who is literally at the top of music, like Nirvana in '95 was about as big as it got.
Yeah.
Right. And he went, or 94, to like, I mean, holy shit. Like, he went and did this thing that everybody would have rejected him for. Honestly, everybody should have rejected
the pressure would have been there to just continue on doing what
Right.
you were doing. And that's probably why it got so big, is because he did almost the opposite of like,
Right.
aside from
it's kind of more of that antidote thing too. Kind of the presidents of the United States, like, holy shit, all these guys are so depressing. They're all dead and they're all like, whatever, like, it's super dark. And then he comes out from literally the place where we would all expect somebody to just be buried. Just of all the people that has every reason in the world to be pissed off at the world and never play another note of music, he comes out and plays this amazingly upbeat rock.
Well,
it's an antidote. It was. I
was reading that this album is like, it's largely credited as being one of the first albums that like kind of kicked off the post grunge era.
Yeah. I think the street cred he bought, or the street cred he brought, because he could have been absolutely the dude that everybody would have forgiven if he just said, I'm fucking done and I'm pissed off at the world.
Or joined Danzig or Tom Petty.
100%. Yes.
Offers, right? Like, you go be the drummer for either one of those acts.
Yep.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, instead, he went and did this thing that was completely different from Nirvana. And just, it sort of allowed all of us to go, okay, fuck, life can go on. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super cool. Well, that's the thing. Does that mean we can claim him as a Seattle band, even though he's a Virginia native? Because
absolutely. You know what?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, he recorded it at Robert Lang Studios.
Yeah, in like Woodinville or whatever. Or,
Shoreline.
Where's Shoreline? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So just to piggyback on this, guys, that was my number 4. So
wow.
All of our number 4s.
Is this, of all the ones we've ever done, have we ever
never had the same number 4?
No.
Never.
Wow.
So
we did it.
I mean, we've pretty much covered everything about this album. So,
well, but what was it about? I mean, was it just what Ethan and I said about it, though, or like what?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I listen. Not only did Dave Grohl decide to go in and pull a fucking Paul McCartney and record the whole first album by himself,
right?
But like I think he was scared to release it too. He was like passing out like tapes to like his friends and stuff like that, and they're like, "Dude, what the hell? This is fucking amazing. This is good shit. You should release this." And he's like, "I don't want to release it like as Dave Grohl or like Nirvana Part 2. Like I'll just call it Foo Fighters with a stupid gun on it." We're like, I don't know, but. And then he had to form a band after that, right? He's like, oh shit,
this worked
bigger than I thought. I guess I gotta
And because he was so intimidated to bring this, like a lot of this stuff was stuff he had written, but he was too intimidated. He was too in awe of Kurt, so he never burt any of it up. And the fact that he
one B-side song, I think, on like In Utero or something, like one of those weird. That's it,
right?
Like Penny.
Kurt was so prolific, and he said this in many like videos that I've seen. He's like, dude, like if he has so many songs that you don't even. I think he's like, I think I played like a demo for him or something like that one time, and he's like, yeah, it's pretty good, but what are we gonna do?
You got to get out of the way,
my band.
Right? Yeah. You got and you have to get out of the way of.
And more credit to Dave for realizing that, like not being the asshole, being like the cliched drummer that goes, I think we should play some of our songs. Next, you know, he's out of the band. Like, Dave knew his place, and he knew that he was. So,
and he said he loved it. He loved being the drummer.
Yep.
Clearly, because he fired all the drummers.
Sorry.
But anyway. Yeah, so that was my number 4.
Holy
Good
shit.
stuff. I
we agree.
You know what? It's still those first couple albums by the Foo Fighters they're still my favorite albums by the band. I like a lot of stuff that they've done, but a lot of their later stuff to me, it's just not. It doesn't have the pop hooks. Like
not as
you know what I mean? Like
catchy.
They're good songs. I'm like, I'll listen to it and I go, I don't hate it. I mean, I don't love it. But I don't hate it. It's like, it's good. It's okay. It's
how much of that is the timing though, too? I mean, like we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
The reason music soaks in is because it becomes the soundtrack for the thing that you're doing. In 95, like we were all doing interesting shit. Like we were out of high school, kind of like that era.
Well, we were driving around a lot, listening to
driving. We were driving a lot.
Eating Wendy's.
Yeah, I guess interesting may not be the word.
Interesting.
It was just challenging times for us, which I figure out.
How about pathetic? How about pathetic?
There we go.
Sure. Yes.
Music was all we had. It wasn't pathetic. Yeah, that's
music
true.
and fat tours.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And Red Robin, endless fries.
Oh yeah,
that's true. That's
a lot of Mountain Dew was drank.
Gawking at the cute waitresses. All right.
Damn right.
Okay, so the Foo Fighters were number 4. They own the number 4 spot.
Number
apparently.
4.
All right,
they're clearly number 4.
Ethan,
number
what do you have at number 3, buddy?
Number 3, once again, because my criteria is the things I still go back and listen to the most. And so for that, this is a weird one. It's obviously a super band, and it's one of the weird super bands that actually worked out of the grunge era, because I think a lot of those artists all loved each other and played with each other, but obviously Mad Season. And I know this is like a super depressing album as well, but Lane's vocals are incredible. Mike McCready can freaking shred on guitar, and it's just, I feel like some of his best guitar work at times too. And that's, don't get me wrong, he has a lot of great stuff in Pearl Jam, but it's just like, I don't know, like these songs still hold weight. And just like, and it's crazy when Chris Cornell, I found that weird ass video where Chris Cornell covers, like he was with like Duff McKagan and some of those guys that were redoing it, and Chris sang it, and I loved it because Chris's voice is one of a kind. But it's like, it's just not Lane, which is crazy to say because, like, again, just the pain of like the fact
it's
that McCready
River of Deceit
and Lane, had just both gotten through their experience of drug rehab and kind of came together and decided, hey, let's start making some music, along with this bass guitarist that I think, if I'm not mistaken, McCready, I think his name's like Saunders or something. McCready met him
John Baker Saunders. Yeah, he met him in rehab. Yeah,
exactly. Minnesota. Then he's the only non-Seattle native to be part of the group.
And by the way, two of the 4 guys in this band relapsed and died from heroin overdoses, right?
Yeah, right when they were going to get back together.
So it doesn't get more real than this album.
No,
it does not get more real than this album.
Well,
because that happened within 10 years of this album.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's crazy too, because I think a lot, like critically, some really good music people liked it, but other people were really critical of the fact that it was such a downer. Like, even I was looking at the Rolling Stones review, and it was talking about like, gee, when the most upbeat song is "Lifeless Dead," we've got a problem.
Right.
I remember I was not John bought this album. I listened to this album, and we were listening to it, and I was like, yeah, I probably had the same reaction, because I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, it's like
dark.
It's like super dark, and I was like, God damn, man! Like, where's the you know what's funny is KISW. I remember KISW. Mm-hmm. The song that they would play the most is like the because it was like the most like rocky like song on this.
Well, I think it sounded the closest to Alice in Chains, so it was the safest bet, right?
Like, yeah, that's true.
But to me, like "Wake Up" is just like gut.
Oh my god,
that's the opener, right?
Beautiful, yes.
That's his mom's favorite
painful song.
That's his mom's favorite song.
Yeah,
and you know what? That's my favorite song on this album too.
Well, and I also love like "River of Deceit" is an excellent song too. There's some really beautiful guitar work in that song. "I'm Above" is also another one I think that KSW eventually got around to playing, because that was the other one I kind of knew from the radio was "I'm Above," and that's the one I think that both Mark Lanigan too, who comes in as kind of a backup vocalist, and I'm a big Mark Lanigan guy. I just like his voice. I know is acquired taste for Screaming Trees, but he ends up writing some of the lyrics and helping sing backup vocals in a couple tracks. In fact, they were going to keep the band going after Lane clearly had too many issues. I don't think he had died yet. But sadly, of course, Mark Lanigan eventually dies, albeit much later, also from drug-related issues. But Screaming Trees guy that's got this incredible voice, that like just bounced around through a lot of projects. But I just really, I don't know, I have an appreciation as another like Ellensburg, Pacific Northwest kind of native guy that just brought some realism and some, I don't know, grit. Like his voice has got such grit to it. It was such an interesting thing. It's definitely not Jerry and Lane when they harmonize, but it's still some interesting stuff. So like some great tracks, like one called "Long Gone Day" at the very middle end of that. If you've never heard of it, friends, check it out. It's excellent. I mean, "Lifeless Dead," obviously, but I even like "November Motel" is just a kick-ass instrumental song where like it starts slow and then McCready just comes in partway through and like some face meltings, like solo stuff. It's an awesome song. So it's one that I still go back and listen to a lot of, even though in '95 I felt like, holy shit, this is depressing. And I probably gravitated towards a few songs that were most like Alice in Chains. Mad Season, Above, definitely my third album of 1995.
All right. Awesome. Lee?
Fantastic choice. Yeah. Number 3 for me, I can't believe this wasn't number 1 given all the things that we've talked about in the past, but it didn't even make Ethan's top 5. So, I mean, it's Clutch. The eponymous album from '95. This is actually the album that got me into Clutch. I mean, prior to that, it was Shogun Named Marcus, the song on Transnational Speedway or whatever it was. Or was that on Elephant Riders? I don't remember if it was on Transnational.
No, that was Transnational.
Yeah, so, but this album was the first Clutch album that I did, and continue to listen to all the way through. Every single song, I can listen to this today, I can listen to it in 20 years. It's going to be fucking awesome. Escape from the Prison Planet was the first song that kind of got me hooked on this one. And it's kind of this super weird, like, I don't know, you start talking about like aliens and fucking, Bob Lazar and all kinds of shit, but it's awesome. And then you get into songs like I Have the Body of John Wilkes Booth and some crazy conspiracy theory shit. But then there's like Spacegrass, super mellow, like, I've heard this many times. I am apparently the only stoner that people know that never smoked weed. This album proves it, because this is a complete stoner album, and I've never smoked weed, and this is an awesome album for me.
I think Spacegrass literally created the genre of stoner rock.
I think it did. That song,
like literally.
Dodge Swinger.
But that makes sense too.
1973.
This is the album that I remember you listening to the most, Lee.
Yeah,
it was. No, it is.
I would come over like every week. I'd come over to Lee's, like in that little apartment that he paid for in cash for the entire year. So that speaks volumes, though. So that wasn't in 95 that you heard that. I mean, it was back then that I was listening to it also, but that was in 2005. Right. No, but that's what I mean. Like, I remember
it's still there. I have maybe,
in your truck.
I think I have 2 CDs in my current car because it has a CD player. And one of them is that one.
Awesome.
Lee's still in 1995.
I am. But this album is so rad.
Blast Tyrant was my album that got me into him. So that's why for Blast Tyrant to me is like but I get it, because whatever the one is the gateway drug to the rest of the discography, that's that's going to be the one that's pinnacle. So that totally makes sense.
It totally was. And for me, like I said, Shogun Named Marcus got me like, hey, who the fuck are these guys? But I never really got that deep into Transnational. This album from beginning to end, I mean, like, I don't even remember what song it is. It starts out like Marlon Brando, but bigger.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
This is like, it's funny because remember you guys said that the previous Clutch album that we did on a different episode.
Yep.
That was like the album that most
Blast
people
Tyrant.
would probably.
Yeah.
This album to me is by far my favorite, because I've listened to all the
every song. You've heard every song. I guarantee you guys have both heard every song.
Yeah, right. No, I don't think I've heard the Clutch album that's come out recently or something like that. But
anyway,
all their early albums I've heard. And I'm like, this album seems like the most catchy album to me, but probably because of a combination of Lee and the crazy weird lyrics like that. I always remember that. Like Marlon Brando, but bigger. Like, it's like,
you'll find that body at the bottom of the deep down Susquehanna River. Come on.
It's awesome.
Yeah, the lyrics that Neil Fallon comes up with in general is freaking wild too. It's what happens when you get a guy that's got like a.
You think Marlon Brando ever heard that?
I think he was dead by then, wasn't he? When did he die?
It's close.
Anyway, he was pretty big when he died.
One of the Island of Dr.
like
Monroe
socially and physically.
Island of Dr. Monroe. Yeah.
With him and Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
That was a creepy ass movie.
Yeah. Anyway, Clutch. Yeah. So there you go.
All right.
What about you, Josh? What's your number 3, buddy?
Okay. Well, we already talked about it. And this would be the presidents of the United States of America.
Millions of peaches pop free. Look out!
Nice.
The lyrics are fun. They're silly.
Mm-hmm.
But they're fucking super catchy. All the songs are super short.
Mm-hmm.
And I had in my notes that, I mean, how can you not think of John Racich when you listen to this album?
Exactly.
How can you not think of John Racich? People are like, who the hell is John Racich?
Songs about bugs and dune buggies and shit.
Yeah.
They should know if they've been listening to the pod. You know who Sweet Johnny Big Jimmy is.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So I know Ethan talked about this, but I mean, listen to some of this shit. Like, kitty on my foot and I want to touch it. Mud flowed up into Lump's pajamas. She totally confused all the passing piranhas. Carla the stripper, straight from LA. Boll weevils sitting on couches, eating millions of peaches for free, riding dune buggies in the sand. Body about a salamander and a frog. The hillbillies sitting on back porches. Red rope hair, gumdrop lips, cotton candy thighs, 3D billboards, and big 30-foot Smurfs. What?
I think it's Smurk. I think it's Smirk with a K.
Okay.
like smirk, like smile, either way. But here's the crazy thing with them: you actually don't know, because 30-foot Smurf makes as much sense when you're talking about them.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And they were like, if you see live videos of them, they're fucking awesome.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
well,
And a lot of those three-piece bands are like that.
Did any of you guys get to ever see them live?
I never did. Did you?
I did. I saw them because they played at Soundgarden's final appearance at Mercer Arena, final at the time.
Yeah.
And they surprised it. They weren't supposed to be there. They weren't on the bill. They were nothing. It was a Christmas Eve show. It was the final show of Soundgarden ever at the time in Seattle. And the last band that opened up for them was the Presidents. They surprised everybody. And the Presidents came out and fucking blew the doors off. And then Soundgarden played their last show. Holy fucking shit. It was amazing.
Sounds awesome.
What year was that, Lee?
Oh man, it had to be 98 or 99. Like, I'd have to look it up. I don't remember, but it was. I got so fucking worn out at that one. I had to go sit out in the little. That happened at Tool also, but I got so worn out being in the mosh pit. I had to go like cool off in the middle of like one of the sets. But it was nuts because it was supposed to be like Soundgarden and like Pond or somebody. Pond was supposed to open for them, and they always had like 11 open up for them, or Pavement. I think it was Pavement was the one that didn't make it because they brought 3 or 4 bands, and that was what was on the bill, right? Like nobody knew anything special. And then the fucking stagehands came out and they started putting a bunch of Christmas shit out, like a bunch of like light up Santas and a bunch of weird shit. And we're like, okay, whatever. And then the Presidents run out there and they just kick the door down. They just like, I don't even remember what song, but it was nuts because nobody expected him to be there. And it's just like, holy shit, this.
Yeah.
It was the perfect mix too, by the way, of that high energy anti-grunge thing with by far my favorite grunge band, Soundgarden. Like, holy shit, it was amazing. And we all knew it was Soundgarden's last show at the time. I mean, again, they came back later, but like that was it. That was their farewell tour, and that with the Presidents. Oh man.
That's cool.
It's awesome. I love it.
Yep.
Love it. So it's down to 2 albums now.
Wow. We're doing
It's down
good,
to 2
guys.
albums. Ethan, what do you have for number 2?
This won't surprise probably anybody. I mean, you said it wasn't on your list. Josh, you already had it. I don't have a ton to say about it other than obviously Alice in Chains' self-titled album, The Dog Tripod. I just love Alice in Chains. I go back to the grunge bands, like we said, probably more than anything, because talk about a genre of music that gives it to you all. Songs that kick ass to get you going, songs that are sad and emotional. Like, you really run the gambit, because some of them even sound like punk rock. There's some that are just like, super fun. Not that that's what this album had. And as you guys have already covered, probably, even if you include the EPs, probably my least favorite of the Alice in Chains albums, which is crazy because, like, I'm sorry, Jar of Flies is so damn good, and so is Sap, and like obviously Facelift and Dirt. But
Ethan, I remember Lee and I talking about this when this album came out. We're like, Lee would be like, man, they're really struggling to fucking fix Lane's vocals. Like they're like double and triple tracking his fucking
That's not what I heard though. I was reading weird stuff about that because that's one of the most they said the most misconceived things.
Well, I was just saying what we fucking said back in the day. We're like, Jesus Christ.
That. But you listen to Lane, who recorded those vocals around the same time he recorded them for Mad Season. Okay. And you listen to Mad Season, his vocals sound on point. He apparently wanted to push the band in a different direction. This created tension. He was going around and like Jerry was saying, it took forever to record the stupid vocals because he would sit in some weird room with all these weird devices and like be singing through a megaphone or this other thing, trying to create all these weird voice sound effects. And want to do it. And Jerry's like, what are we doing? Like, I think that's where, like they said, they got frustrated. Plus on top of that, all of his drug issues. And then on top of that, like the fact that he just said the tension was at an all-time high. They were still convinced we're going to be fine. We're going to go forward as a band. And he was just so pissed at everyone guessing and like taking pop shots from the side. In fact, it really goes into some of the song lyrics that Lane wrote because a lot of them are about like the media and screw you and kind of like how you think I'm dying. Like there's even that one like to hold the funeral before the body dies and everything, like just kind of rip, I think, right and grind there at the beginning. Like a lot of his lyrics were just pissed off, but he was just taking his time because they said part of his frustration is he was doing this other stuff. And then he felt like he was kind of tired and tapped out and kept using that as an excuse to not come. He goes, hey, we're your first band, asshole. But it wasn't that too, because Jerry loved Lane so much and still felt so lucky to be in a band with them. He's just like, I understand you're tired. I understand there's fatigue here, but we kind of got to get this thing going. Like, so there's all sorts of weird, only Jerry and Lane before he passed, obviously know what really was going down. But yeah, apparently it did sound weird because his vocals sounded weird, but he could still clearly crush it when you hear Mad Season and the things he's
and
singing
the
there.
Unplugged.
Yeah,
Right. Came out the next year.
Beautiful. He was just doing weird stuff, trying different things.
And he was
crazy to hear.
Like, didn't they say that he was
show.
on heroin during that
Had to be.
Unplugged?
That guy's just got a talent.
Big old
He
fucking
pulls
glasses
things out
and
of the
shit.
ether and just sings this crazy shit. And like, he was just doing weird stuff.
Yeah.
That's crazy to hear. I always thought that his vocals were deteriorating, but when you bring up Mad Season, no, they weren't.
Right? You're like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shit.
I think you guys hit all the major big tracks there, like Head Creeps. It's like some of the weird ones are on that one, like you mentioned before, Josh, like Brush Away and Sludge Factory. I mean, just dark, dirty songs, really cool, just musical stylings too. I mean, even if it's not their best, to me, I kept thinking like, well, shit, I'm like, it's still way better than most of the shit that came out in 1995. I'm sorry. Like, even though there's some really cool things that expanded the music horizons, there's still not many bands that make music, even at their worst, as good as Alice in Chains.
And the songs that I always
Fact.
go back to on that album, the songs that I always 100% go back to are the
100%.
Jerry Cantrell songs.
Yeah. Except I love, again, just because I...
Oh, yeah. I'll put that on. I'll throw that on a playlist.
Absolutely. So that's my number 2, you guys.
All
Leroy.
right.
That's good. Number 2. My number 2 was your number 3. I mean, you covered a lot with Mad Season. You know, obviously it was Lane Staley doing a side project with a super group with Mike McCready, both of them dealing with sort of addiction and obviously John Baker Saunders dealing with addiction and all that stuff. To me, though, this album, it felt like the first super group from Seattle that made sense. Like, and I guess I don't know how often the super groups got together or whatever, but like this one felt like the first real one that was like, holy shit. Like these guys got together and created something completely different. And it was, we've talked about the way I phrased it, the antidote of the presidents of the United States and kind of the upbeat stuff that was happening. This was the bottom. Like Mad Season was the bottom. It was somebody just laying his soul bare and saying, here's the shit I'm fucking struggling with. Like you can hear him pleading with himself on Wake Up. Wake up, young man. Wake up. It's time to wake up. Like it's time to like do something. You got to change something. Or, you know, River of Deceit. He's lying to himself. Yeah. He knows that he's going down this path. He's begging himself to course correct, but he can't. And we all know he never did. This is this album and this spot where those guys built that thing. It's so raw. Mad Season is so raw. I had to have it somewhere on here, and it just kept creeping higher up the list as I realized how important it was and how often I was listening to it at the time. Yeah. And it's shocking that, you know, Alice in Chains didn't make the list for me, but this one did, because I think this is I can't dare say it's peak Lane Staley. I think this is the most honest Lane Staley. Absolutely worn out, begging himself to find a way to live and failing and singing about it and being super honest about it.
Hey Lee, did you know what the band was originally called before they actually came up with the name? Because they were going around and doing shows at like the Crocodile Lounge before they even had songs written. Like I guess like the song Red, is it Alternative Red?
Oh yeah,
or something like that. It's like that was a jam song they made up on stage that became a song later because they just they went around called the Gacy Bunch. John Wayne Gacy and Brady Bunch ran together, and they thought that might not sell very well.
Wow!
When they decided to record it, they changed it to Mad Season based on, of course, England's.
Right.
It's the term for England when all the psilocybin starts growing wild. So they
That's crazy. Well, and Lane was doing different shit. He was playing with Second Coming and a couple other bands at the time. Like he was out doing different stuff. So it actually throws it into some context that you mentioned. He was trying different shit with Alice in Chains. Maybe he was really looking to do some different stuff. And, you know, Alice was like, hey, hang on. This is your primary band. But, you know, he's playing with.
Did you ever see Lane Staley when he sang with Second Coming?
I did.
Like on stage?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. It was Halloween.
You said your sister saw a lot of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I went with my sister. That one. That was at. That might have been at the Moore. But he only sang one song. He sang with. Let's see. What the fuck? There was one song on that LOV Evil album by Second Coming that had him on it. It was like a bonus track. My sister has an awesome autographed copy by Lane and a bunch of other people of that one. It's really cool. But he came out surprised all of us, sang on that one. It was awesome.
Awesome, man.
Rad.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a Halloween show. I remember that. I just don't remember what year.
Damn.
So anyway,
pretty
yeah,
cool.
Mad Season number 2. It belongs at number 2. Number 3, if it was at number 1, I wouldn't be pissed at anybody.
All right.
Holy shit, this year is crazy, but Mad Season, yeah,
Okay,
super raw, super raw.
So we have the number 2, the number 2. I guess it's me. This is me.
It is you.
Okay, this is one that I distinctly remember when this album came out. Johnny raised the Janai for hours would go to the music store. We'd be looking around, listening to music.
Which one did you guys normally go to? The one in Federal Way?
Yeah.
Yeah, right by the theater
Federal Way,
on
Am I thinking
320th.
of the right place? So there's not where. What was the one that was down the street on 99 in Federal Way? Like you take the. Do you know what I mean? Like the one that you could listen to all the music and everything. What store am I thinking of? It wasn't the warehouses where we bought the music because it was like $10 cheaper. For
Was the warehouse the one right off I-5, like just at 320th, kind of by the
warehouse
theaters?
was the one right next to the movie theater. Like
Yeah,
but
totally.
But the other one was like down the street.
Oh, that's right. No, it was
Take a right.
It was next to the old country buffet, or like kind of up there. Yeah, it was
we
like
used to have Blockbuster Music is where we used to listen.
Blockbuster Music, is that the one? Is that the
we
one?
used to
It might have been
scan all the
Blockbuster Music,
and then you could just listen with the headphones.
Yeah.
That's right.
But
Okay.
we never bought anything there because it was way too expensive.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
like,
We'd
why
listen to
would
it
you
there,
buy
and then
it
we'd go
here?
buy it at the.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Blockbuster Music gives you what other music stores don't. The power to touch it, see it, hear it, hear all of any CD before you buy it. Makes sense, huh? Blockbuster Music, the power to hear it all.
We're like, yeah, I don't
shit,
think
I
so.
remember
And then
that.
we're like, yeah. Anyway, this is one of those albums where I'd always have it in my hand, almost ready to buy it. And I never did. I never did until years later. But this album, it's fantastic. And it's really, it's considered a classic now. I mean, I guess it was huge back then, but Alanis Morissette,
Oh,
Jagged Little Pill. One of the things that turned me off initially about this album, I'm like, I'd listen to this and I'd be like, I don't understand why she's using drum machines on half of these songs, and that really turned me off on this album. But I mean, maybe that's why this album was so big, because it like broadened the horizons of the different people that were listening to this. But I mean, then they got like, Taylor Hawkins to do the drumming for the tour. But literally half the album are huge hits. Maybe that's part of the reason I didn't buy it. Is like, well, if I don't buy it, then I can just hear these like on MTV. Every other song is like Alanis Morissette, right? All I Want, Would You Go Down on Me in a Theater?
yeah.
Is that like the greatest? Like, I mean, I quoted that like a million
You
times.
think of me while you're fucking her or something like that. So
great.
in that one, when you got the non-radio edit, I'm like, Jesus Christ, Alanis is a freak.
It's so great. Hand in My Pocket, You Learn, Head Over Feet, Ironic. All I
entire
Really
album
Want.
is
I like
amazing.
that first song, All I Really Want. Great opening track. Even but the songs that I didn't really listen to when this album came out are really good, like acoustic songs, and they're very different than the hits. This album's like a really good album.
I was considering putting Alanis on my top 5, and then I went to the criteria of things I actually listened to.
Right.
No,
Look, I mean, that's the thing.
Some of her songs are legit. I mean,
I tried to put this one on my top 5 too, because it's an argument could be made that it's the best album of that year, right? But that could be made for 25 albums. But this thing, song for song, is amazing. It made my honorable mention, so that's going to come up soon. But like, it is an amazing album. All the songs are poppy in it. Again, it's more that antidote thing, but it's awesome.
yeah.
It's a good album. It's a good album. So anyway, that was my number 2 album.
Isn't
Number
it
2.
ironic, Josh?
Isn't it
Don't
ironic?
you think?
Don't you think?
Don't you think? Except most of the things she says in that are not even examples of irony.
Rock stars are known for their
Yeah. What can you
grammar
do?
or whatever. I don't know.
What can you do? Honorable mentions, you guys. Well, these lists can be stupid long. I'll just try to keep this super brief. So Obviously, Alanis was on mine. I honestly had, and I even wrote the notes here, best album cover ever, ? Lemonade and Brownies, Sugar
That's
Ray.
awesome.
I had Clutch, obviously. We've talked about that. Clutch. I also had one that I love because the first 4 tracks are legit, and then the rest of the album is just is Everclear, Sparkle, and Fade.
Yeah.
I love Everclear, Pacific Northwest Band, Portland. I mean, and I'm sorry, like, You Make Me Feel Like a Whore is just a freaking awesome song. And Santa Monica, obviously, is just a big one.
Yep.
For my boy Kipster, I know he'll be mad at me. It didn't make my top 5. It was on 5 for a while, Brent, and then it dropped off. A band that only weird metalheads love called Flotsam and Jetsam, Arizona natives. Jason Newsted left this band to become the bass guitarist for Metallica, but they had a great album that year called Drift, and it was one I did listen to a lot.
How can you do that to Brent?
I love it, but there's just parts of that album too that just don't. And like then I loved it, but it's like I listen to it now and it's like, oh yeah, it's good, it's nostalgia. But then there's parts of it that are like, there's a few songs in here that are a little cheesy. Anthrax Stomp 442 was kind of a weird time where their lead guitarist had left. So they had a bunch of like filling guitarists, but I think it just made it kind of feel a little disjointed from start to finish, even though a couple of the songs they have Dimebag on lead guitar, and that song Riding Shotgun is just, dude, Dimebag just melts your face. One of the best awesome, like, you want a track to drive to, Lee, when you can see again?
Fuck yeah. Well, if.
Riding Shotgun, check that out sometime. I think you love it. I also love that Silverchair Frog Stomp was like a legit album. I think you can't go wrong too with, like, I'll be honest, this band caught my eye mainly because the lead singer was freaking hot, which was no doubt. I saw I'm Just a Girl by and I'm like, who is this? And this kind of weird thing like that. I mean, but that album had so much play on MTV that even if it didn't initially appeal to you, it kind of grew on you just because you heard it so damn much. And it was an album. I mean, Jewel too, with the weird little tooth and everything. She was adorable. And some of those songs, like, I don't know, there's this stuff that, like, you could keep going through the list. Like, Insomnia by Green Day had some pretty good tracks. It just wasn't their most complete album, in my opinion. Like, I could wrestle with so many albums on this stupid thing, just try to figure out what they're going to make or not make my list. I'll just leave it at that. I'm done. I tap out. That's my honorable mentions. Lee.
I mean, the honorable mention conversation could be the entire fucking episode, honestly, because there's so many of them. There's so many.
The rest of the list, honestly.
It could because there's so many on this one. You mentioned a bunch of them. For Josh picked Jagged Little Pill is his number 2. For me, it's honorable mention. But there was kind of that thing where the women came forward, the singer-songwriter women, Jewel, Alanis. I love Ani DeFranco's album, Not a Pretty Girl from this. I went and saw Ani DeFranco. I was a big fan of that. 32 Flavors and Then Some is an amazing song. There were a bunch of kind of, I keep using the word antidote, but it felt like that. It felt like we were all getting just our souls crushed in fucking angst, coming in, or in grunge. And then all this new stuff popped up. Right. And then there was also some pretty rad rock. I mean, Silverchair, fucking awesome. Those kids were in high school when they recorded that. What the fuck? I mean, they're younger than us. White Zombie. I mean, fuck, dude. Like that Astro Creep, like More Human Than Human, like fucking, those are great driving songs. Great stuff. I don't know if they belong, but that's the thing is they don't exactly belong at the top. Obviously Presidents were on my list of honorable mentions, and Monster Magnet for me, though, that one sticks on because I always said if I was ever going to make a movie, I would start that movie. Dopes to Infinity is the album, but I would start the movie with Look to the Orb for Your Warning. Fucking amazing, establishing, super long fucking rock song. I don't know. Cool. But tons of music. Like honorable mention, how do you even do it for 95? I left off probably 20 things that belong on it.
Well, I'll help fill in some of these. No, just joking. I like it. All right, so I guess I got to start off with a band that it's not my favorite band, but it might be my favorite album by this band. Red Hot Chili Peppers, One Hot Minute.
Oh, I should put that one too. Yeah.
The bass and groove on Aeroplane, the guitars on Coffee Shop, and the song P with Flea. Lee, where are you going, buddy? Lee, where are you going?
Get over yourself, Lee. We listened to this one quite a bit, if I recall, in some of our notes, Josh, because this is like, besides this and the one that came out a couple years prior, those are the 2 albums I listened to the most with them by far.
Yeah, Blood Sugar, Sex Magic.
Sugar, Sex Magic, thank you.
Yeah. The No Doubt, Tragic Kingdom was a huge album. Even the album tracks on that one are massive. I always talk about the Smashing Pumpkins. Lee.
Billy Corgan was such a pain in the
that's the thing.
ass.
Billy Corgan ruins all of it. Like,
Well,
they
Billy
weren't that
Corgan
bad. Just
creates
Billy
all of
Corgan.
it,
Well,
but
I know,
he
but he's also fucking ruins it.
So it's like, man,
The guy's a talent. He just drives
I
me
always
nuts.
talk
His
about
voice.
this. I always talk about this. Like these double albums, man. That album would have been a fucking great album if some fucking producer got a hold of him and strangled him and said, "Hey, this is going to be a single album, and it's going to be a really good album."
Pick your 10 best, please.
But it's not. It's like it's a double album. Like, dude, there's like great song. There's like Zero, Bullet with Butterfly Wings, World is a you know what I mean? Like they're 33, 1979, and the most annoying song to me is the Tonight
That
song.
sounds terrible. That song just makes you want
You know,
to
are we
to my ear.
are we to the spot where AI can replace vocals entirely? Because we might be where we can fix Rush and we can fix Smashing Pumpkins. We can put a new singer in front of them.
Dude, could you imagine if you could put Chris Cornell singing those songs? Like, how different would Smashing Pumpkins sound?
Right?
Dude, almost every like cover I hear of, because Billy Corgan writes great songs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
right?
we'll give
They're
credit
great.
for that.
It's great
They're
music.
great songs.
Yes.
It's just usually what makes or breaks a band is the lead singer, right? Like
Rush. I love
broke it for
Rush
me.
if Geddy Lee wasn't singing. It's
Yeah.
terrible. I feel the same about Billy Corgan. It turns me off.
yeah.
I can listen to a lot more Rush than I could listen to Smashing Pumpkins. So, like, Geddy Lee's voice is far more forgiving than
I'm the opposite.
Corgan.
I'm the opposite, but just barely.
The opposite of what?
Like
opposite.
I would
He feels
rather listen to
Billy's a little
Smashing
more
Pumpkins than Geddy Lee because Geddy Lee is really grating to me, but I get it.
So then you have like bands that they put out good stuff, but they're just assholes, like Oasis. And like they'd say shit like we're better than the Beatles, and then I'd listen. I'm like, no, you're not.
You're just copying the Beatles.
Yeah, like what? And then you have like a band like Supergrass. Fun songs. They're all like really kind of poppy, rock, punky kind of songs, but very British. Very British. And then I'm always a sucker for good, clean, big guitar riffs. And this album had a lot of catchy rockers, had the radio ballads, and it was the peak of Ed Roland's creativity, which is Collective Soul's self-titled album. You know what reminds me of this album? Lee. This
Robert
always reminds
Klein?
me of... So Lee would always like... We'd go into like a bar,
Oh, okay. All
and
right.
Lee would be like, "Hey, dude, pick out some songs on the jukebox and give me like a couple bucks, right?" So Lee's like giving me money to pick out songs, right? So like here I am. I know I'm obligated to at least pick like, you know, She Talks to Angels,
Some
or
Black Rose, some whatever. Yeah.
Stevie Ray Vaughan or something like that, right? But then I'd throw in the song December.
Don't worry about, don't speak of doubt. We'll turn your head now, baby, just spit me out.
Lee, for whatever reason, I don't think he hated it. He just like it's like annoying to him that like I'm gonna waste a quarter
Money on
or
that?
50 cents playing a Collective Soul song. There's thousands of songs in this jukebox.
God, I hate Collective
Yeah, I
Soul.
just never, yeah.
So anyway, that's what it reminds me of
Yeah,
that.
man. Soul Asylum, whatever the other stupid band. Like, both of them just wish they could just...
Oh, Soul Asylum.
Soul
Yeah.
Asylum.
I didn't like either of them.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'm
At
with
least-
you on both.
At least
They're
Collective
both
Soul had
forgettable.
guitar riffs.
Yeah.
Runaway
yeah.
Train never... That's Soul Asylum. Sorry.
Yeah.
whatever.
Train never good.
What was that? Oh, good legislation. I guess I just like, if I hear that again, I swear to God, I'm gonna...
That was their first, yeah. That was their first album. Anyway, all right. So, you know what? I wanted to say this real quick here.
Mm-hmm.
You know how I always talk about how Radiohead, I've never understood OK
You
Computer.
liked the bands.
Either. Yeah.
I do like the Bends.
Yeah. Riker's really got
Maybe it
into
still has
radio
like big
lately.
guitars on it still. Like I just think that album is way more palatable for me. I still don't. Every year, it's almost time. It's almost time, guys.
Almost
Every
time
year
to talk about Radiohead again.
No, almost time for me to like listen to OK Computer because one of
Oh.
these years,
Oh.
I swear I
You
have
do
to
that every
understand
year?
it. I try to because like everyone says it's the greatest album of all time.
I don't know. This is like when Jewel endeavored to read the Bible and it took her 10 years and she got to the end. She's like, I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's like, okay. I mean, I admire the fortitude to continue on, but like if you make it to year 2 and you're like, this thing isn't hitting me, you don't have to stick with it. Like there's lots to read, lots to listen to. You don't have to keep listening to OK Computer.
Genesis and Exodus, Leviticus and Numbers. Sorry.
Is that Queens of the Stone Age?
Is knocking in your hotel while you slumber.
Oh fuck, no, that's fucking Clutch, dude. Yeah.
Sorry.
I can't believe.
All right, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, so anyway. I have some less than pleasant albums.
I do too.
Well, you already mentioned Red Hot Chili Peppers, so
ouch.
And Billy Corgan. And
I have just one to mention, Josh.
All right,
Iron Maiden, one of my all-time favorite bands, comes out with an album this year. It is the biggest steaming pile of shit because they didn't have Bruce Dickinson. They certainly they put in some weird singer. It's like I don't think any Iron Maiden fans acknowledged this album, so it was terrible.
Wow,
and it was really, really rough. And so, as a metal guy, I just got to say that was a really sad offering, and maybe just because I'm diehard loyal to Bruce Dickinson, and I mean the guy can fly a jet. He's certainly his solo albums did pretty well compared to that. But yeah, sorry. What are the ones that you think are terrible?
So here's my less than pleasant albums. Bon Jovi these days. Jesus, like this is the same band that 9 years prior released "Slippery When Wet," like the fun rock anthems of the 80s. Like this is full on, they're full on at this point adult contemporary, and it's like either these bands, these types of bands, they were either Lee disagrees. He's like, this is my favorite album by them.
This is number one.
No, I'm totally agree.
Okay.
It's that all of these albums we're talking about are kind of distasteful, and I'm going to make weird faces.
All right, no, so I'm just going to say so basically. This is a weird time for these 80s bands, right? Because they either had to change their style to make it kind of grungy,
survive,
or they're like, we're just gonna do soft rock, and clearly they made the right decision, I guess, because girls were still listening to it. I guess I guess.
Were they? Okay.
I don't know, but anyway, that album's terrible. Van Halen, Balance.
That's not the one that Lee took back after he got it, was it?
No, that's not that album.
It's not as bad, but Balance is not good.
No. So Balance, I'm not a fan of this album, but I do like the song Seventh Seal.
I vaguely remember that.
So this is actually kind of like a grungy kind of song. If you haven't heard it, I would check it out. But I think that this is if they released that as their lead single, it may have worked. It may have made people like me that were like, I'm done. And that was it. The band, they struggled recording this album, and then the next year they got Roth anyway. So, and then that was it. But anyway, those were my kind of shitty albums. So Ethan, what do you have for number one, buddy?
Well, Lee already kind of took a poop on it because he said, well, I couldn't have that as number one. Well, I did, asshole. So take that. Now, this album, let me just say one of the great little intros into a song ever. It says, I just said up yours, baby.
I just said up yours,
baby.
From the movie Shaft. And it's just, to me, being a metal guy, Astro Creep 2000, songs of love, destruction, and other synthetic delusions of the electric head. I mean, let that sink in. That's a long-ass album title.
Mm-hmm.
But Astro Creep 2000 is obviously the second big release by White Zombie. The first album, you could argue this band would never even made this album if it wasn't for Beavis and Butthead breaking them with their song, the original Thunder Kiss 65.
Mm-hmm.
And they were getting no record play. Brent said he saw them opening for a band called Testament, which is kind of like a deep cut for 80s and 90s metal fans. And when you're opening for Testament
opening
in the 90s,
for Striper or something.
Well, the Testament, it's not that bad. They're not like a Christian rock that's that weird. Testament was still pretty legit. But needless to say, they're just still not a super heavy mainstream. He goes from seeing them, he comes back, goes, there's this band, they were wild. I've never seen anything like it. They had a hot girl playing bass, and I'm like, whatever, Brent, this is just weird. And then we saw them on Beavis and Butthead, and that fueled the second album where they kicked out the drummer, got a new drummer. It happened to be the drummer who did jump for Exodus and for Testament, strangely enough. John Tempesta just does an amazing job. They get Terry Date, who's a huge metal producer. Almost every one of the major Pantera albums are done by Terry Date. Soundgarden, Terry Date did a bunch of Soundgarden albums, did the Deftones first couple albums that made it huge. I almost should have put Deftones on my honorable mention too. It just was that band that just never really quite I got or understood. But Like this album is just awesome. And then the fact that you take all this weird shit from horror movies, or literally interviews from like the Marilyn Manson family, when they're on try, I'll burn an X in your head, like all this crazy shit that was going in.
I'm
and
already dead.
Yeah.
I'm
And then
already
you
dead.
see them live. And I remember telling Johnny Racich, I go, this is like one of the cooler concerts visually and musically I had ever seen. Like all of a sudden Real Solution number 9 comes on with the weird like music playing. And actually I think it's Grease Paint and Monkey Brains, where it sounds like a weird little grinder organ and all these clowns come down crucified. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I mean, there was like the most wild visuals. And one of the people up there on the cross was actually like alive, like a human, like kicking around, like, or else it was animatronics. I don't know what was going on. I'm like, this is just crazy. I mean, the Electric Head Part 1 has got one of the most kick-ass intros to a song, even though it takes a while to get going. And then that song, the drums just sound amazing. Terry Day just did a beautiful job mixing that. You got Shawnee Zalta on bass. And it was like, there's a woman in metal
I
playing
had
guitar.
kind of a crush on her.
She was super hot. I'm not joking. Yeah, just because you're like, when you're a kid, you don't used to seeing women at metal shows, period. The fact that this was like the first music too to me where I noticed like some of my girlfriends were into it. Like, and this was metal and they're like, I mean, let's be honest, more human than human. Like you already mentioned. I mean, let's be honest, this stuff ended up being heard in strip clubs around the world. I mean, I think he even made his next album when he was like Rob Zombie. It was like super sexy swinging sounds or songs to strip to. Like, he clearly had this weird, there's kind of a funky groove dance thing along with these weird old monster clips, but just lyrics that I don't think anyone even really knows what the hell he's saying. I mean, he could be like an Anthony Kiedis of metal, but needless to say, it just, this song sounds, or this album just sounds so good. Cause like both Electric Head Part 1 and Part 2, Supercharger Heaven, more human than human. Girls Could Handle It. Like we said, some of the songs are like stripper music, but then you go to some of the deeper cuts, the Real Solution number 9. That's literally the intro to that is taken from Patricia Krenwinkel, who's one of the Manson family.
Yeah, I remember her saying, I'm already dead.
They actually adapted it and everything to, and then when the tagline to the thing goes, who is alive and what will be left? He kept saying it over and over again. It's literally the tagline to Texas Chainsaw Massacre on the movie posters. He just took things that he loved and made weird ass songs about him. I love that song called Blur the Technicolor. That's just freaking excellent. I Zombie. It's like this talk about driving musically. It's just like freaking pounds. And I don't know, for me, metal and just kind of a weird new, it doesn't really fit into the rest of the metal genre. There's not other bands out there that sounded like White Zombie to me, but this thing just sounds so sonically awesome. And it just, I don't know, it was something I listened to a lot. And I still find like putting on my playlist when I'm going to go work out, like this shit just gets me going, man. It's just awesome. And like, even if I play it, I have kids in my classroom where a song will come on and they go, Mr. McDonald, who is this? I go, it's a band called White Zombie. Kids are like, it's pretty freaking cool. I'm like, okay, that says something. When I can get kids of this generation, because I'm always turning on music during work time, giving the kids culture. Some of the kids still think like, that's just cool. I've just never heard anything like that before. And I'm like, all right, that says something. So my number 1 is Astro Creep 2000, White Zombie.
Love it. Awesome.
Yeah, me too. Honestly, yeah, it could have been top 5 for me. Yeah. And greatest driving intro.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure, on More Human Than Human. Like, if you ever wanted to run from the cops, that's what you start your music with.
So good. So good. Lee,
Is it the
how about you,
orgasm
buddy?
that makes you drive
What is your
faster?
number 1, Lee? It's we know
Yes.
it's, Lee, we know it's not Clutch. We know your number 1 is not Clutch.
Look, which for all the other shit that we've talked about, and Clutch has landed so high for me on every other one, and this is by far my favorite album, like the one from 95, and it landed at number 3. Clutch got kind of fucked by the 1995 music scene. So the number 1 album is one that probably most people have never heard of for me. It's The Edges of Twilight by The Tea Party.
With this fire in the hair.
Yeah.
Not on the list. I thought Lee loves the Tea Party.
I really thought about this because I was like, you know what? This is a weird album, but I was listening to it a fucking ton. I got this album from Spike O'Neill at KISW. He and I were doing he was doing some promo at the Mariners, and I was driving him somewhere, and he's like, hey, have you ever heard of the Tea Party? I was like, yeah, because I knew Splendor Solace from before. A couple of years, my sister's husband was into Tea Party, and so I loved him already. He's like, hey, check this out. And I remember, like, we were sitting at the Kingdom in the Mariners minivan. He's like, here, check this out. And he gave me the CD, whatever. He goes, hey, do you want to go to the show? And it was like one of the KISW Rising Star shows. And Josh, I might have taken Sean. I don't remember who I took.
I don't think I was at that one.
It was at the Moore. We were up in the balcony, and these guys, super weird music. That entire album is like, it's got some sitar and it's got some like weird crankbox shit, and then it goes into like blues, and then like some seriously like almost classical guitar, virtuosic music. Awesome, amazing vocals. Like the vocalist for the Tea Party sounds like Jim Morrison, if Jim Morrison had continued on and lived long enough to sing in sort of modern rock. But at that show, I already loved the band from the previous album, Splendor Solace, and then this album I thought was amazing. But then I went to the show, and there were probably like 10 musicians on stage, and again, they're bringing out like weird shit, sitars and fucking thermers and fucking crankbox shit that looks like it belonged at like a Renaissance fair. And then they took turns. Everybody on stage played every fucking instrument. Everybody there was essentially a virtuosic musician at every fucking instrument. It was ungoddamn believable. And I remember thinking at that moment, holy shit. There are people this talented at music. Wow. How do people not know about this? And the answer is there's tons of great music out there, and the more eclectic does not necessarily mean better or broader. But good God, if people want to be impressed by virtuosic music or musicianship and pretty amazing music, listen to this album. Listen to The Edges of Twilight all the way through. It's amazing. And it's different. It's different throughout, but it was number one for me because as I think back to that year, that was the one that surprised me the most. It was the album that I was like, holy fucking shit. I even knew who these guys were, and it blew me away. So Tea Party, Edges of Twilight.
Definitely an obscure album, but the album before that is the one that I know
Splendor Souls,
a lot more.
Amazing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'll have to revisit it.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Joshua.
All right. So
Numero uno.
This is my number one. The next album, it really got me excited about the metal scene. Like, Ethan was the guy that introduced me to a lot of just classic metal. Before that, I was like more like into pop and rock and regular, everything except that genre pretty much. And Ethan really expanded my horizons on that. And
probably against your will in my car.
Well,
to be fair.
But yeah, I mean, I was
what
like,
we all do to each other though, right?
It's true.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of like the unsung rule, right? Like you're like, hey, if I'm driving, we're listening to, I mean, once in a great while, we'll listen to someone else's stuff, but like, that's part of the rule, unsung rule.
Although
right?
It was more fun riding with you, Ethan, because the car would jerk back and forth because you'd be hitting the gas pedal to like the drum.
Little Dodge Colt, that little like shrunken head minivan piece of shit thing. Yeah,
you'd be like kind of drumming the bass pedal and be like,
oh, that was so funny.
Yeah, it was an interactive experience. Anyway,
yeah, it was like Ethan was drumming, right?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It was the gas or the brake. Like it was hilarious. Yeah, and it was like so loud that it was like
so loud.
They recommend like earplugs for concerts, but maybe I should wear them with Ethan's car.
And the one thing that was guaranteed to get you punched in the face by me is if you touched my music volume.
Oh yeah.
I just, whatever reason, that piss. I don't know why. It's such a control freak weirdo, but
so awesome. Yeah. So my pick for number one is
Astrocrite 2000.
Ethan pretty much said everything that needs to be said about this album. I mean, the horror clips, the production. Ethan mentioned the production. It is so big and bombastic and fantastic. Like, the production is so good. And like you said, Ethan, they were able to get good money to get the production and all the different techniques to make this album so good. And man, it's filled with like just classics. And it is like one of those albums where it is hard to explain, like, what is this like genre? Cause it's almost like a new genre, right? It's like, it's definitely metal, but it's like, what do they call that? Like groove, industrial metal, like, I don't know. Like, it's like part this, part that, sprinkled in with this.
I mean, like Ethan said, there was nothing else like it.
Yeah, it's awesome. And between this and his first album, it's almost like I found my Halloween dream. Because
you love Halloween.
Yes. And
this is right up that alley, that's for sure.
Yeah, and man,
Hellbilly Deluxe, right? You're saying it's for solo albums?
Yeah. Stern always talks about, he's like, man, I wish I could Wish I could look like Rob Zombie. He's so cool. Everything about him is cool.
Right?
He looks cool. He dresses cool. His music's cool. I mean, he does the intro to Howard Stern's show. They still play it every day.
That's awesome.
Every day. They still play it.
And wasn't Rob Zombie he was a movie maker? Like he was like a full on artist that just kind of did his own thing unapologetically, and it worked.
Yeah.
Because
Ethan, you saw them in concert. You didn't see them, right?
I don't think I ever saw them.
You saw White and Rob, or did you just see White?
I saw White and I saw Rob because I saw White Zombie that time. And then what I really felt bad about was the second time I get John. John is like, he was into it too. Like he loved White Zombie. He's like, this is awesome. We go back because they had so much commercial success on the first one. Yeah. And the second time, Rob Zombie gets like sick or something. They cut the show short. It was like bullshit. They didn't refund tickets or anything. I'm like, I'm so sorry, John. And I want to say it was like one of John's like first or second like real concert, what I could call real concerts, right? With music where you have to get in the pit and you can feel it. And I felt just so bad. I mean, John was laughing though, because it was like teeny boppers everywhere, like all these little like small middle school. Like it was not the normal crowds I'm used to. Where I'm like, there are people as more physically intimidating than I was. I'm like, I don't know how I get in this pit, but like it was so strange. But I felt so bad for John. And then I did see Rob Zombie because he opened for Korn. I think in like Portland one time. I think Jeremy Noyce drove out a bunch of us to go watch that, and he was the opening act for Korn, and it was pretty awesome. Or Korn opened for them maybe. That might sound more likely because I think by that point they were a little more established than Korn before we went to college. I think Korn really didn't rise to its pinnacle when we were in school. So, but yeah, and that was excellent too. It was just different. It was a little more, I don't know, I felt like there was a lot more shit being played off synthesizers and stuff, or not simply like canned music stuff rather than actual live musicianship. It was not quite the same supporting band as when he had really good musicians in White Zombie.
I think that like the visuals of, I just saw Rob. And it was like, he has help in the studio with his voice. And like the thing that I recognized the most was it's not the greatest live vocally like sounding show, but the visuals are crazy. Like
smoke and mirrors, baby.
Smoke and mirrors. Crazy, like flames going on, strippers dancing and shit. I was like, whoa, this is amazing. Yeah. So yeah, that's a great album. You know, it's funny you bring up John. And John, I went camping with him and his family one time. And John, I bet he just like hung out with you or something because he made this maybe you made the playlist.
Could be.
Anyway, we were listening to this and I was like, damn, because like he kept playing it over and over at this. We were like in this trailer. In the middle of the desert somewhere. I don't even know where the hell we were. We're in the desert and we're like listening to this album. And it was like a combination of the first big album, this album, the Airheads, was it Feed the Gods?
Yes. Oh, and Feed the Gods.
Basically all those kind of like their greatest hits up to that point. And I was like, damn, this is so good, man. This is so good.
Off the Beavis and Butthead movie soundtrack, they also had a great song called Rat Finks, Suicide Tanks, and Cannibal Girls, which is an excellent track. Go check it out.
It came out like, what, a year later or something like that? Or,
Sweet Mr. Remember we that weird music at the beginning. Like you're tripping out on mushrooms, which I think is the sequence in the movie. Beavis and Butthead ate mushrooms in the desert.
That's so awesome.
Or peyote or something, I don't know.
So yeah, that was our list. That concludes our list.
Josh, I can't believe you and I had the same number one. I never saw that coming.
I can't either. No, especially in a year as diverse as this one.
Yeah.
Because the odds of us all picking very similar stuff are honestly as low as we've done for any of the topics. 95 was nuts.
I kept talking to my brother and I'm like, where do I put this album? I'm like, I love it so much.
Same thought.
But I don't know. Do I put it at? And I swear to God, I was bumping this so far around everything, but I'm like, out of all the albums that I listen to the most, this album, like, there's like so many songs off this album that I love so much, and it almost sounds like you're watching a movie, like when you're listening to this.
Well, even Blood, Milk, and Sky at the end.
Which makes sense, by the way, because he ended up making movies and all his videos.
Yeah, I think all tracks. Yeah.
Ryker, come say hi to Lee and Josh.
Yeah, what's up, Ryker?
Hey, Ryker, what's your favorite song or what's your favorite album of 1995?
1995. Oh, this is the one you showed me the list for in Portland?
Well, no, this is a different. Maybe I did. I don't know. Could have been. That might have been the one in the 70s I was showing you, the one that we did on the 70s.
Isn't this the one where there's a Radiohead album?
Yeah, the Bends.
There's always a Radiohead album. Ryker.
Do you like the Bends?
The Bends? What's...
I don't know. You'd have
trying to think of the album cover. That Alice in Chains. Pretty good one.
Mad Season.
Okay.
Foo Fighters original.
Just don't say balance.
And then Presidents of the United States of America. You may not know them. Songs like Lump.
Oh, yeah. Lump came.
Yeah, all right. Good for you, buddy.
Sweet.
Those are my
you know, the Alice in Chains one, I'm probably going to have to go with that.
Solid choice.
I got to see. Let me see what's the album cover to the Bends.
I mean, if we're going album covers, you need to look up Lemonade and Brownies.
Lemonade and Brownies?
Oh, that's the best album
cover. Yeah, he was talking best album cover. I forgot that only I can hear you.
We had a ton of time to research, so make your best picks in 2 minutes, right?
I totally thought that Ethan's number one was going to be Bjork.
Your number one is going to be Bjork.
No, I love Bjork. Was that one with Human Behavior?
The fact that you know one song.
Wow. She's like such a weirdo. I'm like, wow, Icelandic chicks are weird.
Well, the one Icelandic chick that any of us ever heard of.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bends. My dad doesn't like Radiohead. He's always complaining about them, but I think Radiohead's pretty
That's the cover art for Lemonades and
That
Brownies.
Alice in Chains.
Okay, I told Ethan that...
That's the best album cover ever.
Sugar Ray, Lemonade and Brown. Oh, that's a pretty sweet one.
Yeah.
Right? That made my top 5 just because of that cover.
Yeah.
That's one of her. She's an actress from our time named Nicole Eggert that we all had a crush on.
Josh, I would throw that up as the thumbnail for the podcast. And we'll start getting a lot of
Yes, see, I talked about it. I brought that one up strictly so he would have to put the picture on the thing, and I talked at length.
It'll be
just
featured
so
when Lee's talking about it. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, boys.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you back to my dad.
All right.
Right on, man. Good to see you, Ray. Yeah,
Figured you'd
good
have
kid.
something to contribute.
Yeah.
Yep.
Radiohead. I mean,
All right,
it's a
so
solid choice.
So we have Ethan's pick, we have Lee's pick, we have my pick, and we have Ryker's pick.
Yeah, surprise drop in.
So
Surprise
there you
guest.
go. Mm-hmm. There you go. Well, is there anything else you guys like to add? 1985, Lee, you're getting a lot of ass in 1995. I remember that.
And by ass,
I'm sorry. That
Dunham?
was directed at me because you and I were sitting in the same fucking car, and there was no ass in that thing except for Taco Bell ass, and it was you and me farting it up. So 95 was not.
Oh, God. Well, painted a picture.
Green River Community College, Mariners making the playoffs for the first time, working in Incredible Universe, baseball strike. 95 was a crazy year.
Yeah. The Oklahoma City bombings.
Oh, yeah.
O.J. Simpson.
Shit.
Not guilty.
Damn.
Yeah.
95 was nuts.
It's pretty wild.
It was.
Yeah.
It was pretty wild. It was pretty wild. Well, all right. So if you, whoever's watching this or listening out there, how are you doing that?
I don't know.
Anyway, we want to hear what your favorite albums are. And I placed a list of the albums in the description. Feel free to give us your top 5 and let us know if you disagree or agree or whatever. I'm sure a lot of people will have brownies and lemonade.
I was going to say, if you've made it this far, it's because Josh flashed that up on the screen every 30 seconds to keep you engaged.
Yes. Yes. And gentlemen, I thank you for coming on today. It's always a good time.
Always a great time. I'm glad you made it.
Good year.
We'll have to do it again. Do it again soon.
Through the sickness. This was like your flu game.
Yes.
Good job, Josh. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. For Ethan McDonald and Lee Olson, I'm Josh. And as always, thank you for being a friend.
Woo!